as you said, Zack Smith on behalf of Standard Fusee Corporation and Route 33 LLC, who have petitioned the council for annexation and rezoning pursuant to that request. We were at your meeting earlier this month, and the council took a straw poll on those requests, and it was clear to us that the majority of the council appeared to support the request if we could secure easements to allow connectivity between the site being proposed for annexation and the adjacent Waterside Village Shopping Center. And so hearing that requirement, we went to the folks that own the Waterside Village Shopping Center, Remco, and requested that they grant us the easement that the town council wanted to see. And we thought, going into that conversation, that that would be well received. Connectivity between the sites makes a lot of sense, and we're certainly supportive of it. My clients would like to see that happen. They think it provides a safe and efficient way to move between the sites, and that's good for users of our site, but that's also good for users of the Waterside Village site. And furthermore, in light of the tremendous entitlements I think that this council has given to Remco, we thought they would be very interested in continuing to work with the town to promote the town's agenda and the town's comprehensive plan. But that was not the reception that we got. We were told that in order for us to secure that easement, Remco would have to be paid. And we weren't given a number, but we were told they would have to be paid. And this would be above and beyond the costs of actually physically connecting. And furthermore, I would say, from my opinion, where this access road would be located would not interfere with the development potential of Waterside. Waterside's already laid out. They already have this road. It's already built, or soon will be. And all we're talking about is just simply connecting our drive area to theirs. But they didn't give us a number, and so my client just wanting to move this forward, wanting to appease the council, wanting to get annexation and the town zoning, offered to pay $50,000 for the easement. And Remco responded by saying it would take $500,000 to secure that easement. And while my client very much wants to work with the town and appease the town in that regard, he cannot reasonably pay $500,000 for that easement. And so, in light of that development, wanted to come back to the town. We don't anticipate that you're going to support the request as we submitted it in light of that, in light of your comments before, and in light of the development that's occurred here. So before you vote it, we wanted to come back and offer a slight revision, which is essentially that you vote in favor of the annexation, but take no action on the zoning request at this time. And the reason we make that request is it seemed very clear at your last public meeting, during your straw poll rather, that everyone supported the connection of these properties to the town's sewer system. And that's obviously good for our client, but that's good for the town, that's good for the environment, that's good for the public in general. And so it's easy to get behind that. And if the town is willing to break from your traditional policy of only providing sewer service to properties within town, we would gladly move forward with redevelopment when that time comes and make that connection. We anticipate that the town wouldn't vary from that policy, but would require that these properties be annexed before you would agree to provide the sewer service. And so in light of that, we ask that you go ahead and annex the properties, making these properties eligible for sewer service, but leave in place the county zone. And in our mind, that maintains the status quo. It seems like there's some concerns about changes in use and access roads. Hopefully we can continue to talk about those things, maybe through a small area plan, or perhaps the next revision to your comprehensive plan, and we can make arrangements for those. Perhaps we can continue to talk to the Remco folks and all get together and work that out. But we can't represent to you tonight that we're going to be able to work that out. But if you leave in place the existing county zoning, but annex the properties into town, then we can move forward with redevelopment if that time comes before there are these changes. Make those redevelopment with the important sewer connection, thereby benefiting, my client, but also certainly the environment. I think the other benefits to the town that proposal has is it does give the town control over those properties. It brings them into your jurisdiction. It expands your tax base. And it gives the town council the sole discretion to change the zoning in the future. And so you may never elect to change the zoning, but you would have the power and the authority to do so in the future if, through this next planning process, you decided that something other than the existing county zoning was the appropriate zoning for those properties. So just to summarize, our request is that you go ahead and vote on that resolution to annex the properties at this time, but simply defer or let alone the ordinance placing zoning on those properties, town zoning.
Is there some conditional document that could be added here that would ensure that your client would move forward with that construction should the willingness of the neighboring property owner change?
Absolutely. And to the extent that we could reach a reasonable agreement, those folks, my client, again, is very interested in the concept and moving forward with it, consistent with the town council's request. So yes, absolutely.
I think the critical issue is trying, before there's any type of development, is we don't want to see traffic coming out on 33. We've got a light that's going to come on the corner, or I should say in the road where you have Easton Village and the shopping center. We want to see that road. I think that we should be having some conversations with the other property owner to talk about a better solution than what we're talking about now. If you're willing to wait 5 years to develop that property, I think we have a little bit of time to at least maybe have some conversations.
Make sure we adhere to what is proper regarding the public hearing process. This is an important issue to a lot of people. If we need to reopen the public hearing in order for Mr. Showalter to speak, then I'm willing to do that. And if there's even some question in your mind about whether it's appropriate for him to speak without opening it, then I'm going to ask him not to.
I mean, certainly the safest thing would be to reopen the public hearing if he's bringing forward, and whatever you all decide to allow the public to comment. That's the safe thing. You will never be faulted for taking additional public comment. Whether this requires it, I think it is new information. I mean, you could still allow him to speak tonight, but give an opportunity for the public to react to that in the future, I think.
We have enough information before us to make a decision, in my view. The conditions that have changed is really regarding the zoning. They're asking us to forego any decision on the zoning at this point in time. To me, unless at the risk of oversimplifying what we're contemplating, the concerns we had about the access road are really where we are right now. Does the potential lack of leverage in getting an access road prior to approving annexation, is that ameliorated somewhat, knowing that in all likelihood the development of the Orion property is going to require a zoning change and probably would be a PUD request, which this council or whichever council considers it, if they felt that access road was required as a part of the approval, that might be the time to stick to those guns. That's a choice that each of us have to make, I think, right now.
Seems a little unfair, though, if Remco doesn't want to participate in some kind of mediation, that they're putting an undue, what I would see as an undue burden on the current property owner. A $500,000 offer, I think that's quite significant. I'm just wondering long-term if they're coming with a PUD and we stick with that. I mean, Remco could then say the price has gone up. I'm just worried about that. Mm-hmm. It's disappointing that they weren't willing to work with the current property owner on that.
I'll ask it again. Does the council feel, based on what we've heard from Mr. Smith tonight about the change in conditions, are you comfortable in stating your position now, or would you like to reopen the hearing and get more information specifically from Remco and potentially from the public at large?
I'm somewhat majorly disappointed to see that the negotiations broke down. I don't know why. I would like us to have one more shot at seeing if we can make this work, because I think what all the testimony we've heard and all the decision we made, we came up with what I thought was an ideal solution. I'd like to know why that solution can't be carried forth, and I think if we could have another hearing, that maybe we can find out what that is, or if there's a middle ground, or if it's dead. If it's dead, then we should vote on what we have.
Should the opportunity become available in the future that the owner of the Standard Food property would move forward with such an access road with any redevelopment?
I think that as well as the first one we talked about, we had talked about having some type of annexation agreement that would spell all that out. And I think that that's something that one of us would do an initial draft of, and it would go back and forth a little bit to come up with some language to put before you.
My feeling on this is going to be contingent on how that gets ironed out.
We spoke about, amongst us, about annexing in with the BC zoning under the town zoning, and now they're saying to annex in under the county zoning. Can you kind of go through the three options? And
I guess you had three possible scenarios in front of you. The applicant's original request for general commercial. General commercial is generally the most permissive commercial zoning district that the town has, allowing the widest range of uses, with the possible exception of the CR, but that's specific to downtown. So that wouldn't seem to apply. The business commercial and, as I said, the county's LI are very similar. There are a couple of uses that we allow that the county does not. There's probably a few more that the county allows that we do not. Obviously, things like the development standards, they pretty much match. The one notable exception is we allow for greater coverage of the property because it's not necessary to protect the sewage reserve area if it's on public sewer service. Just from an ease of administration point of view, having one of the town's zoning classifications applied to it makes the most sense. It's not to say it would be impossible. I think the planning staff is perfectly capable of interpreting somebody else's zoning rules and applying them. I'm not sure there wouldn't be issues down the road in terms of, if the county has established unofficial policies about how they interpret various things that either we're not aware of or we take a different viewpoint on. I don't know how those sorts of things would be worked out in the future, but I'm sure because it's very similar to the 5-year rule, if the county were to veto the zoning, that would essentially be the situation. So I'm sure that situation has arisen in other jurisdictions in the state. We just have to figure out how to deal with those.
My inclination is to reopen this hearing.
I think so.
I mean, is there a reason, and we're not under any time constraint, are we?
We aren't. The applicant probably is. But I think if we have any hope, we certainly have the desire to work something out with the adjacent property owner regarding this access road. I think that perhaps some of those negotiations may have to not negotiations, but their positions may need to be aired in public for us to better understand each side.
Mr. Ford, before you make a decision, Mr. Smith has a copy of my letter, and my purpose in appearing today was not to delay or derail a decision or a vote. So I'll defer to him. I have a letter which I'll submit after your vote. If you decide to go forward today, I'll defer to Mr. Smith as to whether you reopen the hearing or not. Happy to comment if you do, but I didn't come here to interfere with a process or vote, and I'll let Mr. Smith decide if your inclination is to open the hearing.
We would very much like to bring this to an end, but we want to bring it to the right end. So
I'm sure you do.
our request here, we're trying to appease the council. And frankly, we thought our initial request was exactly what the town wanted. And we've been trying to adapt as we move through this process. And I think at this point, we're trying to salvage our request based on the straw poll that we heard, the sentiments that these are the things we'd like to accomplish, these are the things that we still have concerns about. And so I think the amended request, in my mind, allows us to move forward, to be annexed, gives us the eligibility for sewer, and gives the town some benefits, and importantly, I think, gives the town the absolute right down the road, whether it's 3 months from now, or 3 years from now, or whether it never happens. If you reach a point where you think it's appropriate to rezone the properties, then you'll have the authority to do so. So we would very much like to move forward with the amended request. That said, we appreciate the time and consideration the council's given this. We appreciate that it's a complex question and there's lots of things to balance. So if the council, in your discretion, wants to reopen the public hearing, we'll gladly participate. We're not going to just walk away. But I would encourage you, if you're comfortable with the revised proposal, to go ahead and take an action on that. If not, if you think more deliberation is necessary, then we'll certainly be here and participate in that.
Okay, well, let's reopen the public hearing for 7:15 at our second meeting in June 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.